Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome back to Paradise Valley. We're on episode number 25. In this episode, we finally made it to the Mandalay Bay Hotel and Casino. And we're just a couple of weeks away from hitting the 1-year anniversary of Paradise Valley. It's kind of hard to imagine that I've been working on this project for an entire year. Initially, I wasn't sure if I was going to do the Mandalay Bay Casino, but the scope of this project really morphed from taking inspiration from the Las Vegas Strip to doing pretty much a replica of it. Starting with this resort, I'm pretty much shifting focus from having to finish the assets 100% and have them uploaded to the workshop before moving on to the next resort or the next project. And now what I'll be doing is creating these assets well enough so that they look good and function in-game, but may not be 100% perfect. It just takes so long to get assets from that point to the final version ready to be uploaded to the workshop. Even having a final version is still time consuming to get it to the workshop, and time could be more wisely spent. I really want to start making progress toward completing the strip before the end of the year. We've only got 4 or 5 major resorts left. Plus, I've got a new project in the works, so y'all definitely keep an eye out for that. In the meantime, I'm going to go ahead and make these assets available for patrons that support me on Patreon for just $1 a month. So a more finished version of the Mandalay Bay and Delano Towers are available right now on Patreon for early beta access. So y'all check out the link below and throw $1 in the collection plate. So I started this series in the first week of October in 2017. The very same day that I posted the first video of the series was the day of the Las Vegas shooting, which occurred from the Mandalay Bay Hotel toward a crowd across the street attending a country music festival at an outdoor venue. This was the largest mass shooting in US history. MGM, which owns and operates the resort, reports that it has taken longer than expected to recover from the shooting, and it's almost impossible to mention Mandalay Bay without mentioning the shooting. If you're like me, hit the like button right now if you think that the most logical discussion to have in regards to preventing mass shootings and the overwhelming amount of gun violence in the United States is a discussion about guns. Hopefully that's a lot of y'all, but go ahead and hit the dislike button right now if the first thing that comes to your mind when victims lose their life as a result of being gunned down is to deflect to a discussion about mental illness. Because that's apparently what we do in America. Avoid talking about the obvious issue and make the focus something else. So I'm going to take this opportunity to talk a little about mental illness or mental health. Using the phrase mental illness is already misleading. I think it's striking that when we talk about physical health, we often refer to that as physical well-being. But when we talk about mental health, we say mental illness. It's just one of those terms that we use that conveys something that it doesn't really represent. Mental health is probably the thing that I spend the second most amount of time on, next to Cities Skylines, of course. Everyone has suffered some level of mental illness at some point in their lives. To disagree with that or say otherwise is like saying that you've never suffered any form of physical illness at any point before, which of course nobody agrees with. One of the leading talking points is preventing those with mental illnesses from being able to access guns. When I think about that, that's almost something that I could support on its face, because that would effectively restrict guns across the board. We like to assign certain stigma to mental illness and use people like the Las Vegas shooter, the shooter at Parkland High School, or the shooter in the Madden tournament in Jacksonville as the poster boy for mental illness. Just because somebody receives or has received treatment for mental health through assessment, therapy, or medications does not make them more homicidal or likely to use a gun to commit an act of mass violence. Conversely, a person that's never received mental health treatment isn't any less likely to be a danger to society. I wish more people could get past the idea of someone with a mental illness being someone that's hearing voices and scribbling on the walls, and see mental health as a more general health concern that everybody deals with. There's a very wide spectrum and levels of mental health, much like there is with physical health. Someone that gets stitches in their leg wouldn't need the same treatment as someone that has a leg amputated, but both have to deal with a type of physical impairment. If anybody is familiar with the DSM, there are some very serious diagnoses, and a lot of people do struggle with mental illness that can be debilitating and limits their ability to function. If you honestly believe that focusing on mental health is the answer to reducing mass shootings and gun violence, ask yourself, first, vote for people that actually support mental health treatment and support access to health care for everybody. Maybe someone can explain to me in the comments the idea behind having health insurance. I understand the idea of having car insurance in case something happens to my car, or insurance on my home in case there's a fire or it gets broken into, knowing that these things may never happen. But the idea of having to have an insurance in case we get sick, of course everybody is going to get sick. Everyone is going to need to go to the dentist. Everyone should have regular doctor visits, and everyone should be able to have access to mental health and substance abuse treatment if needed. Imagine how society would function if we had to have an insurance for other public health services, like fire protection. Whoever had the best fire coverage plan received the best and fastest response from a great private fire department down the street. And whoever couldn't afford a fire coverage plan, we just let their shit burn down as long as it doesn't affect me. That's pretty much the state that we're in when we allow people not to have access to mental health treatment. But again, if you believe in or support restricting guns from people with mental health concerns, then ask yourself if you would support restricting guns from someone that drank too much coffee, has a DUI, a domestic violence charge, someone that struggled in college because of pressure, someone that was adopted as a child, a sexual assault survivor, or someone that has dealt with grief due to the death of a close family member. I can almost hear someone saying, well, clearly there's a difference between these issues and those issues. But how do we know? How do we distinguish between that 20-year-old buying a gun that suffered from depression 10 years ago because his mom died versus that 20-year-old that's never had mental health treatment buying a gun because he plans to shoot up his school the next day? So do we support mental health evaluations for everyone purchasing a gun and regular mental health follow-ups for every gun owner? which are really much more gun control measures than measures to improve mental health. But if you don't support violating someone's right to private medical information, changing HIPAA laws, access to mental health reports and backgrounds, and mental health evaluations for every purchase of a gun, then you don't really support the idea of an increased focus on mental health as a way of reducing gun violence. Because honestly, it's just a deflection to avoid talking about the real issue. If you have any feedback or hate and disagree with anything that I said, please feel free to leave a comment and we can participate in a nice civilized exchange of ideas. But please don't complain about this type of commentary being on a channel that focuses on asset creations and city skylines. I mean, y'all read the title of the video and knew the content of the video and you still clicked on it anyway. So definitely disagree and complain about what I said, just not that I said it. Hopefully everyone that watched this video will at least take a few moments to be aware of their own mental health and put just as much focus and care to that as we do in other aspects of our lives. I recently read a study that said that one of the best ways to improve mental health is to press the subscribe button on this channel, as well as clicking on the bell icon so that you get notifications for the next video. And I hope I will see everybody then.